How's it going, guys? Grimsie42 here, and I am back with part 8 of the quest for NES. Alright guys, welcome back to the Quest for NES. In this episode, I've got one of the rarest and most sought after Nintendo games of all to show you. Something very cool. I have what you would actually consider a big box Nintendo game, a pretty hard to come by unlicensed Nintendo game, and some cool PAL stuff as always. So, hope you guys are excited. I'm going to jump right in. The first two games I'm going to show you are actually a trade that I did with my buddy Oleg, who on YouTube goes by Mr. Sintastic, and I'll link his channel below for you guys. I actually traded him some extra PlayStation 1 games. They were Final Fantasy games, if I'm not mistaken. And the two games I picked up from him are actually pretty uncommon. The first one is actually a 4-player game, and it's an LJN title. It's A Nightmare on Elm Street. Not the funnest game in the world, but still pretty cool that it's a 4-player game and uncommon, so I'm happy to get it in the collection. Next one here is Mule. Again, definitely happy to have it in the collection. I do not know much about it. I'm going to actually check it out after this video because I have yet to actually play this one. Next thing I will show you is a really cool unlicensed game that I picked up. This actually came from Thor Ackerland, and if you guys are not familiar who Thor is actually the Nintendo World Champion. He was the winner of the 1990 NWC, and then at the end of the 3 age brackets they had another playoff to see who was the best, and he was the one who won that. Really, really good at Tetris, and you can probably kind of see as the glare is like blowing off my face there, but it is a not complete, just box and game for Maxi 15, and it's in pretty good shape. I'm not going to complain. There's like little to no peeling on the label, and solid condition. Definitely always looking to upgrade, but pretty cool that I was able to get this from Thor himself, so that was really, really cool. I think I got that for 40 bucks, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a little while. I've had that one for a while. It's kind of just sat on the side because it's in that weird case. Actually, he posted it on a Facebook group, and Shady Jay of the Game Chasers got a little upset with me because I beat him to that. So he thought he beat me to it, and I actually screen capped the time that I sent my message, and he was like, damn, you beat me by like 1 minute. So to the victor goes the spoils. Luckily I was able to get that. Speaking of Jay, I actually got this next game from him. Notorious for having label peel, and unfortunately I am a victim of it as well, but it's not too bad. Jay gave me a very clean copy of Metal Storm, which is a really, really good game, and unfortunately there is just a little peeling right there. You know, it's, other than that, the label and the card are in really, really good shape, so it's unfortunate, but for now, very happy to at least have this in the collection. This is a really cool horizontal shooter of sorts, and basically you control a giant mech, and it's got a really cool gravity feature where you can kind of like flip and go up on the ceiling. So definitely a pretty obscure and interesting title, so I definitely recommend you check this one out. This next one is actually very, very hard to find. It's not the most expensive game in the world, but it is definitely difficult to track down. I'm glad to have it in the collection. It was tough for me to find, and it is a copy of Race America. And I'm going to show you in a future video a PAL game that's similar but different to this, and I will explain that when I show you guys that video. Next one here is another uncommon game. I was lucky enough to find this one with the manual, and I picked this up for $10, and it is the manual and cart for James Bond Jr. And I personally don't think this is the greatest game in the world, but it is a game by THQ, who is no longer around if I'm not mistaken, but it's got a really cool kind of like neon green label, so for that reason alone, definitely glad to get it in the collection. This next one here, I already owned the box for, but I didn't have the game, and now I finally do. I have a really clean copy here, and it's actually fun, so I recommend you check this one out. It is Dusty Diamond's All-Star Softball. And it's a pretty uncommon game, and it's just something that is got pretty good graphics, and it's pretty fun, so definitely recommend you check that one out. This next one here I picked up from my local flea market, which is no longer in business, unfortunately. And again, this one actually comes with the manual, and this is a very, very clean label. As far as I know, this is the last, not the last, one of the last officially released games for the Nintendo. I know the last one Nintendo released was Wario's Woods, and this one here is the Jungle Book. And as you can see, it's just really, really clean, and it also came with the manual, so I'm just a box away from completing that. So that's something that I'll definitely be keeping my eyes open for. Alright, I'm going to take a little break from the NTSC pickups to show you guys the small stack of PAL games that I was able to pick up in this episode. And two of these are PAL exclusives, and one you could still almost call an exclusive because it's got a different title, it has a different name, and it features different characters. So that's pretty cool. The first one I'm going to show you is actually a really solid Bible game. And it is a licensed Bible game, which who would have thought? It's a Konami title, and it's a pretty fun platformer. It's Noah's Ark. And of the PAL exclusives, this is definitely one I can stand by. I can say this is a fun game and something that I definitely recommend. I'm not sure why we didn't get this, so if anyone is aware why this didn't come out in the NTSC regions, I would definitely like to know, because it's a pretty good game and it's a Konami title, so really confused as to why that was never seen here in the States. The next one, I was extremely, extremely excited to get into the collection, and I was disappointed when I tried it because it's got a cool label, it's from a good series of games, but unfortunately it did not translate well to the NES. But that aside, I'm still very, very happy to have Super Turrican in the collection, and this also came out on the Super Nintendo, and that version is much better, but definitely still happy, like I said, to have it in the collection. It's just not that good. The graphics are kind of eh. I just didn't have fun with it. I'm not sure. Other people may think it's great. Definitely not one I would recommend. Cool label, like I said, but not so fun. This next one here I will recommend, and I do pose a question also. So we had a game in the States called Dragon Power, and that was actually another game that Nintendo changed a lot of stuff up for that got released here. And the game that it was originally based on is Dragon Ball. And it's really, really cool to have a Dragon Ball game on the NES. And it's actually pretty fun. It's basically just like Dragon Power, except it's got the Dragon Ball characters in it. There is one issue, though. And if anyone knows how to differentiate in this issue, I would be very grateful for the information. This game is in French, and I do not speak French, so unfortunately I'm unable to read the dialogue, but I'm told there is an English version of this. I'm just not sure if there's a way, like somewhere on the label or whatever, that you could tell whether you have the English version or the French version. So if anyone out there knows that information, I would be very grateful if you could tell me in the comments below. Alright guys, I got two more pickups before I get to my pro tips for the week. And I will start with that big box item I told you about. This is something that I had wanted to track down for a while. Condition was definitely important, and I was looking for it to be complete and clean, and I found something that I'm actually very happy with. And it is a complete in box copy of Arkanoid. And I will go ahead and open this for you quick to show you the contents. My contents are very, very clean. Make sure I got it all there. Get out of there. Okay, so it came with a poster, contest thing. I guess you could win like $5,000 or something. The entry form for that, and then here are the meat and potatoes here. So it came with a really cool custom Arkanoid controller, and then the game, and also it came with the manual. Now, I do have a question. I've got a 3-screw version in here. Does anyone know, because there is also a 5-screw version of Arkanoid, does anyone know whether the 5-screw version was exclusive, like did the bundle only come with the 5-screw version, or do 3-screw versions come in it? This is how I got this one, but I'm just curious because I know there is also a 5-screw Arkanoid. So did they release this big box multiple times, or is it something where only the 5-screw version or only the 3-screw version had this big box as an option? Definitely curious, and if anyone has that information for me and would be so kind to leave it in the comment section, I would really appreciate it. I'm actually going to box this up later because it's not fitting in there at the moment. So the last game I'm going to show you guys before I jump to my pro tips for the week is something that I had a hell of a time tracking down, and one of the main things that was preventing me from tracking this down is its obscenely insane high price. And luckily I was finally able to find somebody who is actually a good buddy of mine, Chris the Retro Rat. I got this from his brother, so I got what I felt was a very fair price, and believe it or not, it's been so long since I've gotten this that the price has gone up actually like $100 or more since then. But it's a really fun game, and it is a late release Taito game. And without further ado, I give you guys another shining jewel in my NES collection, Panic Restaurant. And this game is basically an action platformer. The graphics are actually very similar to Wacky Races. It's just got that same sprite style in my opinion, but you basically play the role of a chef and you're chasing after your food to try to get it back into your kitchen. So, pretty fun game. Not that difficult. On my first playthrough, I think I got to like the 4th level, so definitely not something that's difficult, but very, very difficult to track down, and something I'm super, super grateful to get in my collection. Coming into that point where I said price is very, very important on games, one of the things myself and many struggle with as collectors is, as the popularity of gaming goes up, also do the prices. And that's just simple supply and demand. I know a lot of people like to fault resellers or, fault YouTubers or all sorts of things, and I do believe that all those things are contributing factors. However, supply and demand is really the enemy here. It's basically, as more people are introduced into the hobby, the demand is going up and the supply is finite, and it's never going to change because what is made is what's made. If anything, the demand or the supply will only go down. So one thing that really, really helps as a retro video game collector is the ability to haggle. And I found one of the best at haggling for you guys. I hope you enjoy this week's pro tips. Check it out.
Hey, what's up everybody? Jay from the Game Chasers here. Just want to give y'all a couple little tips or two here on collecting. One of my biggest deals is haggling. Never pay full price. Never pay asking price. Especially, I don't care if I'm at a flea market, I'm at someone's house, I'm at a brick and mortar store. If they tell me one price, I'm going to hit them with something else. The way I see it, they need my money more than I need their product. I've walked away over, not 50 cents because someone don't want to work with me. That's just me personally. But get as many games as I've gotten, I can't pay full price for everything or I'll be broke. Along with haggling, one thing you always want to do, remember these words. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it isn't there. I always ask, do you have any video games? If I go to a flea market, if I go to a thrift store, if I go to an antique store, or if I go to a garage sale. Just because I don't see it don't mean it isn't there. Many times I've asked, do you have any old Nintendo games? Super Nintendo, Genesis? Oh, hey, you know what? Hang on a second. I think I do. I'll be right back. There's a tip from the pro. Pro, more like no.